All right, so this is going to be mainly centered around Alex, who is a YouTuber, Doctor Who extraordinaire, and I think Emmett and I have known him for, what, it's got to be over 10 years now at this point, I feel like.
Yep.
So I'll let him take it away.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Alex Patterson. I am a YouTuber. I make videos all about my favorite show, Doctor Who. You can see all the DVDs and Blu-rays behind me. But I didn't always know I wanted to do this. I was always envious of kids who like seem to come out of the womb and they know exactly what they want to be, what they want to do. They've got a checklist and they're just ready to go from day one. But I was not that kid. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I sort of just blocked that from my mind growing up, even being, a homeschooler and an unschooler. You're always looking into your passions and what you love to do. But deciding what I wanted to do for the rest of my life was something that I just blocked out of my head. 16 to 18 especially, I was just like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to have to envision a life where any of us are I'm very close with my family. I didn't want to envision a life where any one of them would be out at college or away. I just sort of didn't think about it until all of a sudden 18 comes and it's like, well, for financial aid purposes, this would be a really good time to go. What are you thinking? And I had very supportive parents who were like, whatever direction you want to go, we will back you. But I still had no clue what I wanted to be. So I initially chose acting because I'd done, plays and musicals, and my dad's an actor, and I do enjoy acting a lot. But it took me a little while to realize that was just the answer I was giving to society's questions, that small talk interview where they're like, what are you doing? And are you going to college? So I was like, I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to go to college for acting. And I remember one day driving home with my dad and I just like burst into tears because I was like, this isn't really what I want to do. This isn't really who I am. And I need to pivot and really take time to figure out what I want to do. And it was kind of always in front of my nose. Like I'd always been filming. I have like hard drives full of just footage from me like playing with action figures, and I'd like destroy them. And I was brutal to my action figures, but then you watch it in slow motion or reverse. And I just always been filming and making videos. And I love stories. Dad would always read to us, and he writes his own stories. And uh, I've always loved storytelling and video editing and filmmaking. It was right in front of my nose, but I never really acknowledged it until I uh, was online. I saw this webinar about really making a living from YouTube and how you could set up a channel and make a viable income on social media. And I'm on my way to doing that. And I've, in the past 4 years, put out over 250 plus videos, over 450,000 views, 3,600 subscribers. I'm building a community, and the proof of concept that once this scales, I will be able to make a full-time income from that. So at the moment, I'm living with my parents. The rent is great, cannot be beat. I feel like I'm the most annoying roommate in the house, so that works out for me as well. But I am now a sort of, as much as I help out with the house, I am basically doing YouTube full time, and I make videos about Doctor Who, all about helping you grow your knowledge collection and connection with other Doctor Who fans. And it's a really enjoyable job. And so I'd love to talk with all of you today about your questions about what it's like to be an unschooler who hasn't chosen the college career path. The reason I didn't go with that was I did take a couple of courses online to see if I could do it. And I got good grades in those. They were all English courses. I took them online and I was able to work and edit videos and pay for each class as I took it. And so it was very validating to see that I could write at a college level. But I realized that the degrees in digital media were just not up to date with the kind of social media work I wanted to do. They were just so behind. Some of the assignments wanted us to use sources. Half of them had to be from like before 1990. And I don't know if you've ever tried to find something, a source through the internet before 1990, but I was just like, why do I need to be talking about like yellow journalism and newspapers and how this sort of conventional journalistic medium of digital media when there's TikTok and YouTube and all of this stuff growing, that just my college career or there weren't any degrees that fit my goals. And so financially, it just didn't make sense for me to invest money in a degree that was like it's already available to me. There's no barrier of entry, thankfully, for social media. And so it was kind of those are some of my reasons for not getting a college degree. But I'd love to talk with you all about sort of if you're thinking of how you can encourage your kids along the path to finding their passion, and how you can help them, decide what course to go through college. And sort of, I'd love to hear your questions about what the sort of negatives are, because I'm still answering all of those small talk questions about, like, what do you do, and oh, you didn't go to college, and dealing with, I have some friends and family friends, and even uh, I know that my mom would have preferred for me to go to college and go that college route. So I can attest to that uncomfortableness that comes from making this decision. But the one thing I kind of keep in the back of my mind is that when people are like lying on their deathbeds, or you see people in nursing homes, they're not thinking about, you know what, I'm so glad for all those days I spent in the office. They're thinking about their regrets and what they didn't do and what they didn't chase after. And for me, I know that if I really want to, going back to college is an option. But I want to make sure before I invest that kind of time and money and work, that it is something that I really want to do, and I want to know why I'm going there. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. And I talk for a living, so I can keep going if you want. But I'd love to hear your thoughts and sort of where you are at. Um, Lexi says that's amazing. Thank you. I now post. I've been posting weekly videos for the past 4.5 years, and now do weekly live streams as well. So I'm used to taking questions in the chat live. So no worries there. I do, while we're waiting for questions to come in, I do have a fun little exercise, because people always ask me, how do you monetize that? That's a big question about YouTube. And people seem weirdly free to just ask me about my finances. Like, how many shirts have you sold? How much do you make? And a lot of people assume that AdSense, boom, they figured it out. You make a video, you get views, AdSense pays you millions of dollars. No, that's not how it works. But it does work to an extent. So I have this from July of 2018 to July of 2019. I had over 150,000 views, and they were all monetized. Comment in the chat how much you think I made with my videos through AdSense alone. I really want to know what you guys think. I've told you it's not millions, but okay, we have, some nice ranges there. All right, so we have a guess of $500, $150, $50, $3,000, I wish, $1,000. The answer to that is, and I have it written down exactly, I made $83.46. Now, I don't know if you can do the math there, but that doesn't pay the bills. $83.46. YouTube takes, I think it's a 40% cut. And that's not to say that my experience will be the same for you, because there are things called cost per click. There's different keywords. Businesses pay more to get their ads in front of those keywords. So if I was in a different industry, I may have made more from those 150,000 views, but I want to get it out there that that is not the main way. People just sort of think you make tons of money from that. But I wanted to share that, and not many YouTubers will disclose, information like that. Now I personally choose to not monetize my own videos, and because that 83 cents, a lot of people will jump off from ads. They're kind of put off by them. That can hurt my viewership, and I would prefer to use other monetization strategies rather than having corporate capitalist America deciding and pressuring me for the kinds of ads that I put on my videos, because $83 is not worth, yeah. And Dad says we don't actually charge Alex rent. Well, I'm glad, because $84, even if your parents are charging you rent at a lower rate, does not pay for it all. So that's one angle. Other forms of making money that I prefer to use include sites like Patreon, where you can have people pledge monthly support. Some people at Nuke that I met through this conference have been patrons, I think, for about a year now, and it's amazing and it's lovely. People that you meet in person are just willing to support the work that you do. I also have my own merch, and I sell that through Teespring. Once you have, I think, over 10,000 subscribers, they have an integration with YouTube where you can have your own merch like right beneath your video. Can't wait for that. And my favorite way is using affiliate links, because I'm always talking about DVDs, if you can't tell. DVDs, Blu-rays, merchandise, right? And I'm linking to Amazon because that's what I use. And I will drop a link to my Teespring. I have a link tree which links to all of my social media. Somebody just asked for a link, so I'll pop that in the chat. That'll give you all my social medias and my Patreon and Teespring. So I have merchandise that I sell. I also use Amazon affiliate links. I got approved. You have to have, I think, over 1,000 subscribers. There are certain metrics. Amazon doesn't publish them, which is very frustrating. So just keep trying and applying as best you can. But what I love about Amazon affiliate links is if people click on your links, then within the next 24 hours, I get a small commission for anything that anybody buys. It doesn't have to be Doctor Who related. So if you're ordering your groceries through Amazon, click on my links. You'll be supporting me. It ranges for, electronics, DVDs. It's about 2 to 4%. I can't tell you the exact amounts that I make legally. I cannot disclose that, but again, it's not like I'm getting a 50% commission, which would be lovely. But that's my favorite way because people are going to be buying anyway. And instead of having to take sponsorships and say, hey, here's this company, I work with their products and I love them, I can just say, hey, when you're ordering that next Doctor Who thing, which I know you are because you're as obsessed with it as I am, just use those links. And it's a great way to do that. So Amazon Associates, again, that can scale. And what I love about that is my videos are getting views. The expression that they use is getting views while you snooze. They get views, 24/7 if they're ranking well, and if I have affiliate links, people are using them, and it can scale. So I got I think an $80 deposit the other day. Didn't matter what I was doing that day. It was just the time for the Amazon payment to go out, and that was I think a couple months for my UK Amazon affiliate links, and so it's very cool. I'm always going on about passive income, and that's sort of the freedom that I see in this line of work is I don't have to say I'll put in 40 hours of my life to get this amount of money. I can say that I'll put in this amount of work up front for a product or a project that I can complete, and then that can help earn me money down the line. So that's very cool that I didn't have to do any work for that Amazon check, right? I just keep up with my weekly output, and same thing with Patreon. That comes in every month, and as long as I'm, as people are still satisfied with supporting me for what I do, I love that aspect of it. Is, as passive as we can get. Let's stop trading our time for money. And you don't have to be a full-time YouTuber to apply that concept. Doing work for a particular product means that rewards efficiency, right? So if I know that I'm charging $200 for a video for a company, if I can get that finished in 4 hours, that's a pretty good hourly rate. But if I just tell them, hey, I'll work with you on a retainer, I'll do 20 hours of video editing a week at this hourly rate, for some projects that might work. Weddings are a long time. I put in 80 hours for a wedding once, and I didn't get paid a cent because it was for friends, and don't work for free. Don't work for free.
All right,
So,
Alex, I'm just going to interrupt you just because we have a few questions in the chat.
perfect.
The first one is from Brenda, who asks, in your line of work, do you set goals or have a business plan? Do you feel you need or needed any kind of financial courses to help you figure out the fiscal pieces of your business?
Thank you for that question. I do have a set schedule. I put out one video a week. That's what I promise as a baseline, and I do a weekly live stream. So that keeps me, I've started 3.5, almost 4 years ago now. Actually, August 26th will be the 4-year anniversary of the channel. And ever since then, I've been putting out a video every single week. And I am a procrastinator, so I need that recurring public deadline to help me get started. I would love to increase that output. And so I'm always working on filming more videos than just that one a week. And as for the financial side of things, I invested up front. One of the things that convinced me to go full time was a course called Video Ranking Academy. And it was by a YouTuber I watch, Sean Cannell. He does the Video Influencers YouTube channel and Think Media. And at the time, it was $300. And I think I saved up for half of it, and my parents footed the bill for the other half. Now it is a $2,000 course that I still have access to today. So I was really lucky to get the beta, and on the beta program there, I'm an old timer with that, and they really helped me understand the back end of how you could make a living at it and sort of the financial aspects of it. But that information is also available out there for free. It was just a part of this course as well. So Amazon affiliates is my favorite way, as well as Patreon, rather than relying on AdSense, because the YouTube algorithm changes and all of a sudden you're not getting as many views as you were, and that can be really scary. So diversifying your income, and as for a business plan and that financial aspect of it, it's not just a matter of, oh, I'm a YouTuber now, I post videos. Your taxes are going to be more complex. You're self-employed. Patreon now has a sales tax depending on what perks you send to what people live in what areas of the country. It's a headache, and it's why I currently don't send physical perks to my patrons, because that can very easily, providing perks can very easily become a job in and of itself that doesn't, that just covers the cost of itself. So I think that realizing that there is a financial aspect of this that you're going to have to address, and you're now your own business, that's a side of it that you don't necessarily hear from the hype that you get from, oh, it's so cool to be a YouTuber. It's like, yeah, but there's still a lot of work. You're still sending out emails, and if you work with sponsorships and brands, you still kind of have a boss, and you're still, I've worked with a company where we put out a very quick Merry Christmas video, and it was just, saying, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and singing that. And some of his friends were like, is that really professional? And we had to take it down. And it's like, that's not the environment I ever want to work in. I saw a YouTuber who recently did a live stream. He's a brilliant musician, played some songs, and some people that were sponsoring him were like, is this the kind of content you make? And it's just like, I don't want to, I want to be my own boss in that sense, but that does come with more of a less exciting angle to all of the hard work that comes with running a YouTube channel.
Those are really awesome answers, Alex. Our next question comes from Emmett, and Emmett, I might need you to clarify a little bit of things on here. They asked, being a YouTuber is the #1 most wanted career in the USA among kids, and even more so with unschoolers. What advice do you have for kids who are wanting to make a hoodie into a career? And that's the part I didn't...
A hobby, sorry.
Hobby, okay. All right, who are wanting to make a hobby into a career?
That's a great question. I really think it's about trying it out, and picking a particular topic that you are not going to burn out on, because that's really important. When you're a teenager, you often, I know I cycled through a lot of interests, but Doctor Who, it's been a 10-year phase. I joke. My parents may have thought it was a phase, but I haven't grown out of it yet. And so really deciding on a particular niche or topic, I think it's important to pick one, because then you can build up an audience that consistently is interested in that topic. And Doctor Who, I'm not limited. I can talk about DVDs and Blu-rays and news and books and authors and actors and all this stuff, but it's all within that niche of a subject. So making sure you can pick about something that you can talk about endlessly, and with other people who want to talk about it endlessly, is a really important thing, because just as you would want to go into a career where whatever you're doing is consistently something you find joy in, hopefully, that you want to make sure you're picking that as well. And for the career aspect of it, realize that it's it's not all the cool stuff that you see from the YouTube side of things. It looks very cool. You know, I do a lot of unboxing videos. One aspect of my income that I want to touch on is, thankfully, I've somehow been lucky enough from 600 subscribers onwards, I was being sent Doctor Who DVDs and merchandise and Blu-rays and books. It was started out from this one really kind guy, and he still sends me a ton of stuff to this day, but it's inspired other people. And just in this past summer, from May onwards, I've received, by my count, almost 40 items, around 30 DVDs, 5 VHSs, box sets, books. I'm really quite spoiled. And in that sense, it has helped to supplement my income for things that they send me that I would have collected anyway. But obviously, I can't just hand over a Doctor Who Blu-ray that somebody sent me and pay for the electricity bill. So um, realize that there's a business end of creating videos on YouTube, and that is a very lonely job. Make sure that you have a circle of either a supportive family or a supportive friend group, because you spend a lot of time talking to a camera, filming yourself, editing yourself, and that can lead to and then you essentially put out the video and it gets judged. And then when you put out more than one video for years, I now have people saying, "Oh, hey, what happened to this series? I really like that." And you look back and you're like, was I better then than I am now? You start judging yourself. So go easy on yourself, don't judge yourself, but also really, realize that, like, make sure you have something. Like, I'm so glad that whenever there's drama with my YouTube, which there always is, that I can sort of close my laptop, turn to my family. I've got a friend group. I can go out and enjoy life there. It's not that my entire existence is online, and that can lead to some really depressing or dark places. And if you are a parent of a kid who's interested in this sort of thing, moderating and deleting comments that it's often, for me, I've been lucky, it's just sort of hate comments or just like weird links to bad sites or whatever. But having to moderate that myself means that I see every mean comment that comes through, and it's not been often for me, but I have had to deal with a dark underbelly of YouTube, and it's definitely one that exists. There's a dark side to the Doctor Who fandom. A lot of holier than thou real fans. There are fake fans out there, and if you like the latest Doctor, you're an SJW, and there's a conservative undertone, whether you like classic or the modern series. People are judging you politically. There's a dark side to it, and having a parent who you can either talk to or who can moderate that stuff for you is so helpful. And especially for me, I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have parents who, were allowing me to stay here rent free and build this up. But I do wish I'd started not when I was 18 or 19, but looking for what to do instead of college. I wish I'd started when I was 14 or 15 and started building up my YouTube channel. And you have so much time too. I now have to, there are dishes and groceries and all sorts of projects that I'm trying to help out with around the house. And I remember being able to watch Doctor Who for like 8 hours a day. I kid you not, hours and hours. And I was like, man, I wish I'd invested some of that time into building out my YouTube channel.
All right, our next question comes from Pamela, who asks, did your parents encourage you in any way to make your passion into a career or help you see how to make money doing it?
So the answer is I had a lot of encouragement, but it was sort of a new idea to both of them. And it was an idea I sort of came up with on my own. So it was more that I was explaining, I got that from other YouTubers, and I was more explaining that to them. And my dad especially was very supportive of it. And my mom was down for it too, but I think she would have preferred a more traditional job path for me. And that can be hard with just other people in your life in general. Like, I'm already dealing with judgment for being a different in many ways. So to pick a non-college path, it was very helpful to have parents who would back you and support you. as for helping to see how to make money doing it, I think my dad's the best advice that, and the biggest way my dad has helped me in that sense is letting me know to not undersell myself. I'm very, I know that I can do good work, but to put a dollar sign on it and to say, yes, it is worth that, that is still something that I struggle with to this day. And even getting clients and stuff, I need to like believe in myself more and believe in my product, because I've edited over probably 350 videos in the past four years. I shouldn't be worried about doing some freelance editing on the side and charging a rate that is not only covers my costs but also is a very reasonable rate. And so pricing yourself accurately, and if you want help understanding like what a good or typical prices. And especially if you're working for business clients, it's kind of scary how much they'll be willing to like pull out of their pockets for like, and see that as small money. What I might see as very expensive, they might just, see as pocket change. So it depends on who you're working with too.
All right. Our next one comes from Lexi, who asks, what advice was the best that you received that helped you find your career?
That's a good question. I I'm not sure it was ever one piece of advice, but more a belief in the fact that we're we're here to not just live out our lives and feed a corporate machine, but to find what brings you joy. Like I have an answer now. I have always been very sensitive to not wanting to do things that I don't enjoy, and that idea is sort of very foreign to me. My dad is, he will, like, we ran an Airbnb up until, in one part of our house, up until COVID hit. But every day, or one every 3 days on average, for like over 150 bookings, he cleaned the bathroom. And that was to help us fund, our tuition, help us pay the bills. But he's like totally fine with doing work that I'm like, I don't know how you motivate yourself to do that. Like cleaning toilets every day so that your kid your kids can go to college and be okay. Like for me, I'm always like very in touch with, like, if I don't like to do something, I'm very not motivated to do it. So I always had a pulse on like, whatever I want to do with my life, I want it to bring me joy, and I don't want to ever lose touch with that. So I think for him it's sort of different, because it's sort of like, well, if you can make money doing it, like, he's got that main work ethic of like, let's do it, let's make it happen. I don't care if it helps, get food on my family's plates or pay the bills. He will do anything. As a result, I've been privileged enough to be a bit more of a snob and to say, no, I really want to work hard, even if it is more work. And I think a lot of people think YouTube is just sort of like, oh, one day a week and you've figured it all out and you're done. But no, actually, I'd love to ask you guys in the comments how long you think it takes me to make one video. But YouTube isn't necessarily going to be less than 40 hours of work a week. That's a very important thing to understand. You are running your own business and you are constantly researching, and the time that you might have spent leisurely after 5 o'clock in the evening now is sort of research for your next video, or because it's something that you love, it can easily take more time than that. So definitely comment down below how long you think it takes me to make a video. And these are around about 10-minute long videos. We have a guest for 6 hours for one video, 6 to 7 hours of video, 8 hours, 15 hours, 10 to 12, 10 hours. Well, you guys are more on track for this than you were on the AdSense. In my experience, for the first 4 to 6 minutes, it's at least an hour of work for every minute. And then from there, it sort of goes down slightly and more compounds. But for the research, it's about an hour if I'm researching keywords and finding videos that I think will do well. You've then got to script out your video. That can take another 1 to 2 hours. You're then setting up your set. You're filming the video. That takes 4 hours minimum. And then you're editing, and that's about an hour per minute. And it depends on the type of video too. I've done videos where it's easier than that, and videos where it's a lot more hard work than that. And then you're writing your descriptions, doing your titles, thumbnail, and tag. You're designing. There's a graphic design aspect to this as well as a video editing aspect. And then you're promoting it, and rinse, repeat. Do that as often as you possibly can. And that's a hard part of YouTube as well, is that it will take as much as you can throw at it. And you can very easily end up, if you don't set your limits, just consumed by it. So you guys you're pretty right on that. And there's more to it. I wish, sadly, than just editing the videos, which could be a fun career path too. It's not just that if you're good with filming videos, you can film videos for other people. If you're good with editing, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to do all of it and be a YouTuber, because you're also a sound guy. You're a one-man crew. And there's color correction and audio correction as well. Audio takes forever. Oh my gosh. Emmett knows about that. Audio editing takes forever. Podcasts are the worst. I've no longer do podcasts. But also, for every video, I know how long minimum it's going to take because of the amount of raw footage that I have. So if I have 4 hours of raw footage, it's going to take at least 4 hours to go through that just for the first pass of the editing. And you're not even done. So that's a good indicator too of how long a video is going to take.
We've got another question from Brenda, who asks, are you involved in any other fandoms other than Doctor Who? What about Doctor Who speaks so loudly to you?
That's a very good question. I am involved in many other fandoms. This is sort of a secret about me, is that I've been a Star Trek fan longer than I've been a Doctor Who fan. And I might be excommunicated if too many people find that out, but our mother's water broke whilst she was watching Star Trek. That's how early on we were Star Trek fans. And we always watched Star Trek we got a giant pile of like the original series, Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine on VHS for free from our aunt. And every couple of holidays, we just pack up the trunk full of VHSs and watch Star Trek. So love Star Trek, and I've been a longer fan of Star Trek than Deep Space Nine. But Julia is the biggest, than Doctor Who rather. But Julia's the biggest TNG fan. Just got to put that out there. And what speaks about Doctor Who to me is I've always had a hard time with change, and I don't like it. It's hard for me to adjust to that. And for me, like, I think all of my interests were based around, well, as a kid, I always wanted to hang out with my parents, and if I couldn't be around them, then I sort of developed an interest that took up my attention and sort of helped me feel close. So Dad introduced us to Doctor Who back in 2008, and I think I fell in love with the fact that there was so much of it, and that the show in and of itself is able to change, and you have to deal with that every time a new doctor comes around. You have to get used to them all over again and fall in love with a new doctor all over again, and then it changes again. So it helps me deal with change, and it's kind of a crazy thing to think that the show might outlast me, and that it has outlasted the people who started it. And to be part of something that is bigger than yourself, I think is very cool. And there are over 850 episodes. So it gives me a lot to talk about. And there's always something more exciting for me to discover. Oh, I saw a question for who's your favorite doctor and why. Oh my gosh. Often whoever I'm watching easily becomes my favorite, but consistently it's Tom Baker and David Tennant. David Tennant, because even though we technically started watching, I think, a couple of Ninth Doctor Christopher Eccleston episodes, David Tennant felt like my first Doctor, and he's a brilliant actor. And so I have a lot of nostalgia with his era, and I just think, objectively, David Tennant is one of the best actors to play the Doctor. And Tom Baker is also just classic, like that bug-eyed, would you like a jelly baby, the long scarf, it's just iconic. So I love him.
So the next one is actually coming from me.
Oh, nice.
You talked briefly about taking other jobs related to video editing outside of your YouTube career. Is this something that you're thinking about expanding on in the future? And then after this, Emmett said that they have a question for you. Also, my apologies. I didn't realize I was off mute if you heard any tapping noises on my keyboard.
um, yeah, so I definitely am. I enjoy doing video editing. I much more enjoy doing video editing for myself than I do for other people. It's very frustrating to have creative bounds, and often the clients that I'm working with want a professional look to their YouTube channel, and they kind of just want to immediately sell to their audience and think that they're going to get millions of views by just posting a video about their services. And so that's very frustrating, because there's a lot of community building that is an aspect to a YouTube channel, and consistently checking in with the same people. And it's a two-way street. So to come in from a business perspective and just immediately sell to somebody when you haven't provided any value or created any community, that's not really going to work. So that's more frustrating work, but it's something that I'm very competent at. And the answer to whether I take more work doing that is, yeah, it definitely, I would, if it's going to help more immediately pay the bills. But ultimately, that is not my goal. I want to work for myself, because, I just have so much more creative control, and I definitely would much rather get paid doing that than I would working for somebody else as a video editor. And that's why it's really easy to, in my experience, market yourself as a video editor. You just film weddings and hand out your business cards to every person there, and you get known as the guy. I didn't do that, but I still got people asking me, would you film my wedding for nothing? Like, they think, it took me 8 hours to edit one wedding, and that was the last one I ever did. And that was about 2 hours in the end. And so, yeah, it just go to weddings, film weddings. It's the, I suppose, pre-COVID advice there, but.
Emmett, before you ask your question, I just wanted to reach out to everyone. If you had any more specific questions, I know this is geared a little bit more towards YouTube specifically, just because that's Alex's specific experience. But if you had any just like general, applying to job questions, things like that, also
Right.
please feel free to ask them. Alex can do his best to answer, and also Emmett and I can chime in on anything if we have anything to add. And Emmett, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, so I work at a learning co-op that supports a bunch of unschoolers, and I have a kid right now who wants to be a YouTuber. And I'm also part of a bunch of unschooling parent groups, even though I'm not a parent. So I see this question kind of reflected a lot in some of the things that are oftentimes brought up in those groups. And I see this all the time with my kid who wants to be a YouTuber. Especially with something like YouTube, where there is maybe a sort of glamorous side of it, or people have an impression that it's like a sort of glamorous career choice. It seems like you have a really firm grounding in the work ethic around it, and that you have a really strong self-motivated work ethic. But I know a lot of folks struggle with that. And I think parents sometimes struggle seeing their kids have a goal, but not maybe have all of the sort of go-getter energy that you have, and the motivation to actually like do the hard part and do the non-glamorous part and really put in that work. And so I guess I was wondering if you could just like speak to that a little bit, like your development on that. I know you mentioned that you're a procrastinator.
Yes.
When you're making your own schedule, how does that come into play? Like, how do you balance those things, and kind of advice for other younger unschooled kids who maybe have those big dreams but are struggling to have the motivation to do what you're doing and put yourself out there every day, put in that 40-hour work week?
Yeah, well, thank you. I definitely, I call myself selectively motivated. I am, I will if I could procrastinate on procrastination, I would, but that would mean being productive. So I haven't tricked myself into that yet. I have always battled my procrastination with deadlines that are publicly set without accountability. And I think I waited like 4 or 5 months. I like procrastinated on starting my YouTube channel 4 or 5 months, because I knew that once I announced every Saturday I was going to put out a video, that I would not quit at that. And that's been the case. I've missed only a couple of weekends, probably around 15 weekends or so in the past almost 4 years now, of putting out a minimum one video a week. So I think public accountability has always helped me get over my procrastination. And I am selectively motivated about what I do. Again, it's not 40 hours a week every week at all, and that's something that I like about it. It's flexible. I have my results that I need to get, but the amount of time I put in can vary drastically. And so every week it can look different, and I like that it gives me the flexibility to spend time with my family. That's like my number one goal, spend time with my family and my friends, people who matter to me. So that's really, I don't ever want to be doing a 60-hour YouTube work week. That's not my dream. My dream is to put in as much time as I need to get a particular result, and then spend the rest of that time, that's the ultimate goal, is to free up my time. So that's where I would, that's where I'm always looking for how I can make things more efficient and spend less time doing things, so that I can, spend not the time doing what I want to, because I enjoy doing this, but to spend more time with my family and friends is the main goal that I think motivates me. But I've also sort of realized firsthand by doing it every week that it's a lot of work, and it's not glamorous writing up a description or researching keywords or dealing with the negative comments or stuff like that. But it is lovely when I can basically make a video for the week that is just opening up packages that people send me. So there is a glamorous side to it in that sense. But yeah, I think now people just assume that I get so many freebies that I'm somehow rich from that because I'm hawking them on eBay or something. But that's not the case yet. And I would never sell something that somebody sent me too. So.
All right, we got a question from Deb, who asks, off the YouTube topic slightly, what suggestions would you have for sorting through multiple potential interests or ideas to find that thing that might be career material?
That's a very good question, because in the world of social media, so many things, from basket weaving to dog care channels can become a viable career, but it's not necessarily, it's not a guarantee that everybody can do that, or that will happen for everybody. There has to be enough of, like, your audience has to have enough financial ability to support you. One thing that I find a lot is I have a somewhat younger audience, around the 13 to 14 age, especially post-COVID. I think they're now on YouTube a little bit more. So I can't ask them to set aside their spare cash and start supporting me on Patreon. It's more about, for them, it would be more like one-time purchases of something, or using my Amazon links for things that I know they're already spending money on. But finding that career potential, I think, comes down to a thing that you have a big enough interest to, again, talk about for absolute ages and come at from different angles. It can't be a really too niche of a thing. And then realizing that you've got to pick something that you are okay having some of the magic taken out of. Because now whenever I watch an episode or get something in the mail, I used to just tear it open. And now I've got to go to my set, I've got to set everything up, I've got to, film it and turn it into a video. And so even watching Doctor Who, I've got in the back of my head, oh gosh, how am I going to turn this into a review or something? And so whatever you're looking at, I would say, is your audience able to financially support you? So if it's a child-focused channel, it can be harder. Of course, you do have the parents there probably watching with the kids. My channel is family friendly. That's an aspect that I consider as well. So how financially able is your audience? Also, how passionate are you about the subject? And then also, is there enough interest in that? Harry Potter, there's tons of interest in that. There's a huge fan base for that. But something that's like Babylon 5 is not as much. So making sure there's a physically large enough audience that they would be willing to support you with a full income. But beyond that, it's more just learning the principles of marketing. you just need to find that there's a principle called 1,000 true fans, and you hear that spouted out a lot, and but it is accurate from a math point of view. If you get 1,000 people who will buy a $20 t-shirt 4 times a year, you've got $80,000 right there. That multiplies scarily fast. The thing that people don't tell you in all these hype sessions is that it's very hard to find those 1,000 people, that you need 10, 20, 50,000 subscribers before you get to that maybe 500 people. So for 3,000 subscribers and 3,600 subscribers, I'm not yet at, I wish I had a 1 in 3 success rate for those people who would pay me, you know, $20 quarterly. So it takes time to build up to whatever it is, but I think YouTube and social media has proven that you can do it for just about anything. But for me, I was lucky that Amazon affiliates really melded well with what I was doing, because I'm already talking about so many products that you already buy on Amazon. So thinking as a parent or somebody who's going into this, for Patreon, for Amazon, for YouTube AdSense, how does what the content I'm making fit in with these existing revenue streams? So that, you know, well, if I'm talking about secondhand items, like if I was just doing Doctor Who VHSs, you can't buy those on Amazon anymore. They're only secondhand sellers. That's not viable for the Amazon income route. So thinking about it in those on those levels, I think is not something you get advised a lot on, but sort of reverse engineering it from the income point of view is helpful.
Alex, you should do a course for parents and young unschoolers who want to be YouTubers. I see this asked all the time in the unschooling parent groups of parents of kids who want to be YouTubers. You should do a YouTube series for unschoolers on the business side of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Dad mentioned, messaged me saying, reminding me that I also do YouTube consulting. I do that on the side as well. And that's interesting because it's sort of people wanting you to make them YouTube successes overnight and to do that on their behalf. And for me, a big part of growing on YouTube is engaging with the community and commenting on a lot of videos. And if I have to run every comment past a client, then it's like, I don't know how you expect to build up your immediate YouTube success. And getting monetized on YouTube is an important first step. And if you can do that when you're a teenager, that's great, because you need to get 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. But from that point onwards, you can link directly to your website or to Patreon, to an improved website and an improved source of income. So that's a really important step, because until you get there, you can add links in the description, but it's not as engaging as being able to have your end screen and cards pop up with your website links and stuff, which is a barrier I see with a lot of my clients, is they need to get monetized first. And they want to have that overnight YouTube success, which happens for some people, but they've generally put in, like Peter McKinnon got 1 million subscribers in, like, I think 9 months. That's crazy, 1 million subscribers. But he had an entire 15-year career in making incredible quality films and vlogs. And he came at it at a good time with the changing YouTube algorithm. Oh, I see Brenda asked an unschooling video series. Great minds. That's awesome. Yeah, I would definitely consider it. I think that there's a lot of information out there that people need to know about the side of unschooling and about YouTube and that career. But I think that the initial investment of time is kind of perfect for an unschooler who knows that they want to do this. And when you're that age, you can, especially if you have a parent moderating it and keeping that experience, not like, you know, keeping that experience positive, you can immediately figure out if you want to put in that amount of work, and if you can build up your channel to a point where it is sustainable, or at least a good supplementary income moving forwards. And that's what I think a lot of people do, is they work a part-time job or a full-time job while they get their YouTube up and running, but they're always going, man, I wish I had more time to do this. Or if they're a parent, you know, they're like sacrificing hours of sleep because they want to batch shoot their videos. And I'm just thinking about, like, man, I had so much time, and I loved Doctor Who back then. But I also think about you know, the moderating aspect and going, man, I had a tough time going through some of the hate that I experienced at, you know, 20. I don't know how I would have taken it at 14 or 15. So having a parent there to just like delete, you never needed to see that, is very helpful. Or just another friend who can deal with it in a different way. You know, I think my siblings could have definitely moderated for me, and just they wouldn't have been bothered by seeing that as in the same way I would have.
We have a question from Kevin who asks, how do you stay creatively fresh?
It comes down to picking something that you get like legitimately excited about. Like you will scream at a new news announcement. Like today, it was just announced that Christopher Eccleston is doing audios for Big Finish now, and he hasn't returned to the role since 2005 when he left, and it is just crazy. I'm probably going to need to make a video about that. So staying creatively fresh, it helps with a show that like, it helps if you have a subject that is continually renewing itself. If you have something that doesn't, like if you're talking about DC movies as a YouTube channel and that's your niche, you're gonna have to wait every year for new content to come along. So you wanna pick a niche that's big enough that news comes up and, you know, the things that you are excited about pop up. But creatively fresh, I think managing my workflow is really important for that, because if I get behind, or if I have a week where it comes to Friday, the worst thing, if I come to Friday and I haven't filmed my video, I know that I'm going to be up till 4 in the morning getting out my Saturday video, and it's not fun. That definitely leads to burnout. So batch shooting, getting multiple videos done at once and being ahead on my schedule is a big goal for me, because that impacts being burnt out. It means I could take a week off if I wanted to, because I already have a video ready to go. And remembering that not everything needs to be about a video. I started reading 10 pages of Doctor Who books every day this year, and I'm still at an average. My goal was an average of 10 pages a day, and I'm at 12 pages, and that's been lovely. I may do book reviews, I may not, but I'm just engaging with the content in a way that I'm not on screen trying to justify my opinions about it all to everybody. And so remembering to watch an episode and I don't have to live stream the watch along, or, you know, recognizing that it's just really about engaging with what made me passionate in the first place without having to make that into content, which I think is the dangerous side of vlogging your entire life, is that the lines blur, and it can very easily lead to burnout, because you feel like you're on this hamster wheel that you can't get off of. And even for something like Doctor Who, I still get like kind of sick of it after a while. I've made over 250 videos on this. It's like, how much can you talk about? But then I think about how there are over 800 episodes and I still haven't reviewed them individually. So until I have over 800 videos on my channel, I can't really complain about needing video ideas. But yeah, regulating your time, and watching that Star Trek series, Star Trek Picard, was amazing. Doing things out of your niche is really important.
Coming up on 4 o'clock, we can go over if people still have any more questions. So just let us know if you have any more questions in the chat, or we're a pretty small group, so you can even speak directly into the group if you'd like.
Yeah. Oh, well, while you're all thinking, one of the things that keeps me from avoiding burnout is this little yellow folder that I have, and in it contains all of the, I don't like the term fan mail, but all of the mail I've gotten from the community that ranges from like pictures and artwork and just letters and messages about people saying like how I've helped them either through lockdown, or nobody in their lives are Doctor Who fans. Their family just sort of thinks they're oddballs, and it's meant so much to them to have a channel and you know, a place where they can make friends with, and sort of just realizing that, like, to me it's crazy that anybody would be interested in my videos, or that any of my videos are are making people's lives, bringing some joy. And I always try and I have a founding tenet of being positive, because there's so many people just complaining about the show and being negative and making other fans feel less than. It's a serious problem that people are like, oh, there are fake fans out there. And I'm like, no, they're not. If they're into Doctor Who, I don't care how big their collections are or how much they know, like they're fans. So to have a positive and, you know, family friendly channel was always a big part of it for me. And it was not a decision I made because of potential sponsors and being advertiser friendly. It was because I knew that I have friends and people at church who would be looking at my channel and potentially watching it with their kids. And one person came up to me at church, and the first Doctor Who episode they watched was an episode called The Satan Pit. And I'm like, oh, of course, 850 episodes. And the one that happened to be on TV when you were watching was The Satan Pit. But I knew she was an artist. And so I showed her the episode about Vincent and the Doctor, Vincent van Gogh. It's a beautiful episode. Even if you're not a Doctor Who fan, you don't have to be hooked for life. Watch that episode if you can, because it's just a beautiful piece of art and just showcases what I think is the best of Doctor Who. So we showed that to her, and she got hooked on Doctor Who hard. I think she's watched the new series more times than I have now. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to have a positive impact on other people's lives and remember that there are other people on the other side of the camera. That's very helpful. And I think I saw a chat there. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, there's a big Doctor Who community, and I'm just so glad to be able to help grow their knowledge collection and connection. What takeaway would you like folks to leave this discussion with regarding following your passion unrelated to a college path? That's a good question. I think that whether you are in college or not, really taking the time to try new things, to find what brings you joy, and to do more of that in your life is the best thing that you can try and do. And you can put yourself out there, you can fail, but not having the regret of going, oh, I wish I'd done that thing that brought a smile to my face, that really made me excited. I think that's the best gift you can give yourself, and believing in yourself that it's your dreams, once you've figured them out, are worth following, and that it's okay to try something and say, oh yeah, I really didn't want to do that as a career. I'm going to pivot now. And that's always been a fail-safe for me, is knowing that, you know, if I ever want to do this on the side, I've now built up skills in, you know, online marketing and graphic design and video editing. You're going to pick up a lot of skills along the way, especially if you're talking about an online career, and learning to market yourself and network. You know, now I'm known as the video guy, the video editor, that YouTube guy. It's just something that eventually, if you're always sharing your videos, you can't escape it anymore. And so that's a really good way to circumnavigate the whole, like, I didn't, for my YouTube consulting, I think my dad actually told this person and about my my YouTube that I would do YouTube consultations, but I didn't have to put in a resume for that. I didn't have to apply or audition. I did have to give a presentation to one of my bosses about like the value of YouTube and stuff like that, but I didn't have to thankfully go through a bunch of resumes and stuff. It was just my reputation, and building an online portfolio has helped me get opportunities, because now every video I put out is another part of my online portfolio. And I've been able to do some website design as well. That's another thing I've learned. So know that you can't, like, it's a learning experience, and that's what we're all about, is learning and believing in your joy and your passion. Like, just find something that makes you smile and do it, like, today. And if there's nothing, I asked my dad this, like, what are you looking forward to this week? And if you can't immediately answer that and choose something other than Nuke, because that was that we were always excited for Nuke whenever it's happening. But if you can't think of something immediately that you're like, I'm excited about this thing we're gonna watch, or this thing I'm gonna do, this game we're gonna play, this activity that brings me joy, this art I'm gonna make, if you can't immediately answer that, do something and make that change in your life, because life is so short. We need to spend it doing things that bring us joy.
I think that's probably a really great place to end it, unless anyone has any further questions. Alex, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Those
you
were
for
some
having me.
really enlightening thoughts on everything. I also want to briefly mention, for those of you that don't know, Alex has helped us a ton with the organization of this conference. He's the one who designed our website for us and is constantly there to help consult us when we're trying to edit things and make sure we know what we're doing on it. So big thank you to him for that.
I saw that you added in a little drop down for each week of the new
I
programming.
did.
I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't do that. You did that. That's so amazing.
You taught me well. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Tune in next week. It's our Parent and Caregivers Week. And so we have multiple support groups. We have one that's actually going to be facilitated by, actually all three of the people are here today. We have Brenda, who's going to be doing our Kids Are Grown, Now What support group. We have Deb Rossing, who's going to be hosting our primary worker support group. And then we have Kevin, who's going to be doing our primary caregiver support group. So please tune in for those. If you're at all interested, links can be found on our website and on Facebook through our events on our webpage. So again, yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.